So this is the only Marvel Snap card I don't own. This is the unowned filter here on Marvel Snap. As you can see, Sentry is it. And what do you know? Here is Sentry in my token shop with 6,200 tokens, just enough to unlock the final card for Marvel Snap. So this is a bit of a milestone. I've actually managed to earn every single card in Marvel Snap, or at the very least, to be technical, enough credits to earn every card in Marvel Snap. And that's an important distinction because I'm not gonna buy Sentry, because tomorrow yet another Series 5 card will arrive in the token shop with Sauron. And I need to buy Sauron instead because Sentry is worse. So for a brief fleeting moment of about, I don't know, 16 hours or something, I actually had a complete Marvel Snap collection, but then it's right back on the grind. And man, that sucks. Number one, it's really, really hard to get every card in Marvel Snap. It's really hard to get any Series 5 cards for most people. And I wanted to use this video to discuss that just a little bit, but also just run you through what a complete collection in Marvel Snap looks like, how much money I've spent. So first things first, let's talk about the big old elephant in the room. How much money have I spent in order to acquire a temporarily complete Marvel Snap collection? Well, brace yourselves. It is just over $2,700. I've been playing the game since it debuted in early access. I believe it was May 24th, the day after my birthday, actually. Back in May, there was an early access period for certain regions. As a streamer, they sent me an invite. Handful of us got those early access invites. And I've been playing Marvel Snap pretty much every day since then. I did take a little bit of a gap in the mid to late summer, I think July and August, because of the Nexus events debacle that got me a little bit discouraged and frustrated. So I took off a little while. Once they pulled that out of the game and promised not to do that again, I came back, kept the grind rolling. And for the most part, for large portions of that period, I have been buying gold in the 100 gold variety over 8,000 gold, and then buying credits every day. So using my gold to buy these credits to accelerate my collection level. And you'll see here my collection level is 11,000, not 8,000, 11,482, which is up there with one of the probably higher amounts, frankly, in the world. There are certainly people who are higher. There's some people like 14,000 plus. And we have a few public leaderboards, but those are voluntary. You have to sign up for those, so we don't know exactly how many. But you know, still, it's abnormally high. And the only reason I'm able to do this is because, of course, I turn cards into money. Most people just turn cards into cards, but as a content creator, of course, when I make a video on a shiny new card, especially if I get the card early or right on time, I mean, like if I don't have to wait a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks to get the card, but if I get it like the first day, for instance, I can usually leverage that into a lot of views on YouTube. And then, of course, views for me equals money. So to give you an example of that, for instance, like I got Null pretty fast. I think Null I got within like the first 9 hours of his release or something, right? And for the Null video, this timing is quite appropriate. I've gotten exactly 100,000 views off of Null, and that has turned into $689. So for Null, you know, I probably spent effectively, you know, couple $100 worth of credits into tokens and so on. I don't know the exact equations and math. Somebody out there could actually tell you the exact cost. But I was able to turn that into $689. And a regular video would not have gotten 100,000 views. It might have gotten half that, right? Or even less. Maybe 30 to 40,000 views if I didn't have Null. So the net gain for a Null video versus a non-Null video might be like $400 or something. So I pay and profit a little bit from getting ahead of the curve when it comes to cards, especially if I can maintain that for every new card release moving forward, which at this stage, I think I might be able to. then this is a viable model for me to turn, again, gold and money into more money, which takes some work in the meantime. There's a little bit of effort that goes into that, of course, creating videos and such, but that's my job. That works for me. The thing is, that is not remotely feasible for the average player. Of course, you guys can't get a card and then turn it into $689 or whatever. So for you, the real cost of a card is hundreds of dollars sometimes for these Series 5 cards. Or again, I don't know the exact math. I'm too lazy to figure that out. But at the very least, very, very, very expensive, unreasonably expensive. You're spending more per Series 5 card in the token shop than perhaps an entire video game. Like a new AAA release might be cheaper than a Series 5 card if you're spending your gold on credits to try to advance to get these tokens. Now, of course, as a free-to-play game, technically everything eventually is free. And that's great. I'm glad there's a process and a path for people to unlock cards for free. That's awesome. People like me and whales who spend even more than me, we're helping to subsidize some of those free progressions for everybody else because we support the game via all these crazy expenses, et cetera, et cetera. But it's still a really frustrating model because free, but a year later feels really, really bad. And I hate that you can't get excited about new cards as an average player because you're not going to get to play them for weeks and weeks and months and potentially literally years for Series 5 cards. Sometimes you may not find it or be able to spend the tokens on it for a long time. Now, Second Dinner has teased that they're going to add in some fall off where Series 5 cards will rotate down into Series 4 and then eventually into Series 3, and that will speed up the progress. That will help, but we still haven't seen how often that's going to happen. We don't have the details there. So for now, it just feels like this endless mile-long treadmill where you're never really getting to the end, and there's just every card is getting further and further away. So this desperately needs this system that drops cards down by series and makes them more accessible for people, because this is the first card game I've ever seen where new cards aren't exciting. In fact, they're actually really unexciting. And I'm trying to pull up a filter here. I'm always so bad at doing these filters on the fly. Like all these new cards on the way. This is, Sauron's coming out tomorrow. You've got Shauna the She-Devil. You've got Dazzler. You've got the Living Tribunal, which is like the most awesome Marvel character in the universe. It's not exciting at all to see these new cards coming out. It's actually kind of depressing, and it develops resentment that you can't play the new stuff for so long. So I've never seen a card game that can't hype up its new cards. Everybody just feels really sad every time a new card gets revealed, which doesn't make any sense to me at all for a model. So I've sent feedback directly to Second Dinner. I've said, hey guys, what if you built in a free card rotation system where every week there were like 3 cards everybody got to play for the week for free, much like a MOBA game might have a free hero rotation pool where even if you don't have this hero unlocked, you get to play them for the week. And there's like 1 Series 5 card, 1 Series 4 card, and whatever, maybe 2 Series 4 cards per week or something, whatever the details want to be. And then everybody can be excited about new cards. Like, okay, maybe it's not the first week. Maybe Sauron's not available right away, but maybe you get to play him next week. And there's still some excitement, some anticipation for when you might get to play these new cards, even if you haven't unlocked them permanently. Some sort of system that lets people access and experiment with these new cards, even if they don't own them permanently quite yet, I think would really help build excitement. It's frustrating that that's not there. So I don't know what the system would be, but that was an example I gave, at least to Second Dinner, as an idea for helping people get access to Series 5 cards a little more readily. So that's my rant on the monetization as someone who spent $2,700 and still barely keeping up. Like, I think something has to change. And I'm okay if Second Dinner doesn't want people having every card. Like, that is a goal they've stated. They want people to play with the cards that they own and not necessarily feel like they need to be completionists. That's a little bit hard to hear as a content creator when we want to play with new stuff for content. So I've spent extra to try to achieve that goal. But for regular player, that's a reasonable goal. But there's still a gap between not having every card and being excited about some cards. And I feel like they're so far away right now between those two. There needs to be a little bit closer gap there. People still need to be excited about new cards, still need to get new cards consistently enough and regularly enough to feel like they're moving forward in the game. Even if they never quite complete the collection, they need to be tantalized and teased to keep the momentum rolling, so they have new fun stuff to do. Right now, feels like nobody's getting fun new stuff to do. So that's my monetization rant mixed in here with the complete collection side of this conversation. I still think Marvel Snap is outrageously expensive if you spend gold. You don't have to spend gold, of course, but if you do, it feels like your gold turns into almost nothing. Like, you just don't get a great rate of return. Part of that is built into the card model of the game, where there are fewer cards to collect. I understand all the nuances and complexities here, but at the end of the day, it still doesn't feel great to spend money very often in this game. It's almost like both the free-to-play players and the whales are both not being catered to in some way, somehow. There's no ways to just buy everything, and there's also no ways to make great free progression in a timely fashion either. There's like, both sides are feeling left unsatisfied, which I've never quite seen that before. Usually one side feels ripped off and the other is happy, and usually it's the whales that are happy, almost never the free-to-play players. So there is something noble in not letting us just spend everything all at once and buy all the cards, I guess, but I think there's still some major flaws in that system. So what does $2,700 get you in Marvel Snap? I wanted to go through and just take a quick look at my collection, and I guess first off, let's start with the non-variant side of the equation. So this is all of the base cards, and I've had a system in place, not since the very beginning of the game, but recently I've been trying to upgrade all of my base cards, so non-variant, non-split cards, to infinite. I want a fully infinite base collection, and as you can see, I'm actually making quite a bit of progress there. I have a vast majority of the basic set here, all the way up to infinite ranks. You'll see here is right here we get into the ultra legendaries instead of the infinites. These are cards I've often played a little bit less or might be newer, some of the series 5 stuff, but pretty much everything at this stage is up to legendary or ultra legendary. Atuma here waiting on an upgrade as soon as I get some credits, but getting close. I think eventually this will happen. What I do is, once I hit infinite rank, which so far I've hit infinite rank every season of Marvel Snap, I will spend my free time farming boosters on like ultra legendary cards. I'll just build a deck full of ultra legendaries and farm boosters on these, trying to get them up so I can move them to infinite. I know that technically it is far more efficient for your collection level to upgrade common cards first as opposed to ultra legendary cards first, but I'm not as incentivized to like push collection levels right now because I'm not unlocking cards except for the very, very occasional super ultra rare series 5 in a collector's reserve, which that's so unlikely I don't even really bother when it comes to that. So mostly just about the aesthetics here of having a fully infinite base set, and it's gonna be hard with each new card, right? But I mean, that's the soft goal. So the other soft goal is that I want every variant card to also be infinite, and I don't mean splits, I mean specifically a new variant, a unique variant. So if you see here, for instance, I mean, let's take an example right here. Like here's Chess Bishop. This is the base version of Chess Bishop, no modifiers, no splits. I want these to be infinite as well. So that is my secondary goal. So I prioritize basic card upgrades, then unique variant upgrades, and then splits are final on the list. And as you'll see, I've still got cards with plenty of splits. Here's an example of Angela. Particularly in the old days, back before I started focusing on aesthetics, I would split pretty much anything all the time. So a lot of Angela variants and Angela splits, probably one of my most split cards, but I'm not ever really honing in on a single card and splitting it a ton. Although I do know that Iron Man, I also have a ton of variants and splits for Iron Man, as you can see here. This one's pretty cool looking. These are pretty fancy. The golden variant Iron Mans look very, very sharp. So that's been my process a little bit for upgrading. Again, it's mostly driven by aesthetics, not by efficiency at this stage. So wouldn't be a model I'd recommend for everybody, but I do think it makes for a pretty nice, shiny, awesome looking collection at the end of the day. And as many of you know, when I stream, I do just use the base cards. I don't use all of these variants, of which I have, you know, as you can see, a lot of different unique variants. But I don't know, just for readability's sake, simplicity's sake, I often don't use variants. I may change that in the near future. I have a lot of variants. It would be very nice to show off. I've collected so many of these. I haven't bought many variants in the shop. These have mostly all been collected via reserves, as you know, very high in the collection level now, so I get a lot of variants in boxes basically. So, you know, Hell Cow, I definitely did not spend money on the Pixel Hell Cow here. This is definitely just from a reserve, as is the case with most of these. I have a lot of pixel cards. I don't know how many, but I could definitely build some probably relatively viable pixel decks, which we may do eventually. And as you can see, I have a lot of common cards here that are not upgraded. As I said again, I have not focused purely on efficiency, so a lot of stuff left at common in the split world in particular, as I focus in on spending my credits to upgrade variants instead to infinite, as opposed to, I mean, look at how many commons I have. My goodness, it's even more perhaps than I realized. So I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. I'm sure you guys will have questions about various things. I'll try my best to answer them if you leave some comments. Oh yeah, there's the crystal again. As I try to scroll down to the bottom of my collection here, God knows it'll take 100 years. But I mean, listen, I'm still enjoying Marvel Snap, of course. I think the gameplay in this game is absolutely amazing. I've been addicted to the gameplay since day one. I can't stop snapping, as they say. But man, the progression is tough. I've spent so much money, which again, I don't regret it personally, of course, because it's worth it to me. I make it back, but that amount of pressure on other people to spend that much money is insane. Somebody who's not using this as a job, it's just so ridiculous to spend $2,700 and not have every card. Imagine that. How many real video games is that? How much could I have gotten in food, rent, etc., instead of spending it on Marvel Snap? Which, listen, I know some people have disposable income. That's great. I'm not judging anybody for spending it, of course. If you have the money to spend, how you spend your money is your business. But creating that much pressure on the normal player to try to find cards and putting so much behind paywalls when it comes to Series 5 cards in particular, it's just really hard to get excited about the game. I know they need to make money. I understand you got to keep in business, but I have to feel like there's probably some monetization system that feels better for most players and feels more rewarding when you actually spend your money. Because right now, I think most people feel pretty disappointed when they spend money. I certainly don't feel like I'm getting a lot of bang for my buck, as they say. And a lot of people just don't spend money at all because they feel the exact same way. So I guess we'll see what happens when it comes to cards rolling down into new series. Maybe that'll make the game feel a lot more accessible, get cards into people's hands a lot faster. But right now, man, it's kind of depressing when new cards get revealed as opposed to exciting. It's always the same YouTube comments. Man, can't wait to play these cards in a year. And you know what? That's a completely valid and reasonable response. And yeah, I get it. That completely sucks. So hopefully Marvel Snap will make some big changes in the near future, and not everybody will have to spend $2,700 to get a complete Marvel Snap collection, because I don't think most people are going to, guys. I think only a very select few who happen to have YouTube channels that turn that money into money are going to be able to do that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this insight, me sharing a little bit of behind the scenes about you know, why I'm spending so much on this game and what I got for it, and gonna keep stalling until I get to the bottom of the collection track here. It's taking a while, but hopefully you guys enjoy these insights. I don't usually do too many behind the scenes things like this, but I thought it might be a fun little recap, since for the first time since I actually had a complete collection as well before, but now since Series 5 cards came out, this is the first time I've had a feasibly complete collection. Thought it might be nice to do a little recap. Man, these are the good old days, right? Getting cards every 2 levels. Woo! That was fun. I know we can't do that forever, but boy, oh boy, these are the good old days of Marvel Snap. So there you go, guys. A 11,482 collection level. Pause all those frames and enjoy the show along the way. But if you have questions, again, I'm happy to answer those. Thanks much as always for watching. And until next time, game on.